Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steven Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found. And, of course, taped live at the Twitch, twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. Another Crown Jewel in the books from WWE. And we're going to talk about it all on the show today. Before we do, a big thank you to everybody who donated to our charity, the Trevor Project. We raised well over our goal of $1,000. We raised about 1,119, I think, is what it's at right now.
That's where it's at right now. Yep.
So thanks to everybody. We're going to keep that link live a little bit. We'll put it in the description of this video as well. Yep. So if you have something extra to give, maybe consider it. So thanks for all the friendos for hanging out with us during the live stream. Thanks, of course, as always, to the Enforcer.
Absolutely.
Who's taken an early lead in the Big Red predictions. However, a long way to go.
Anybody's game.
We've got a lot. We've got 3 more shows. One of them in 2 weeks, we've got Full Gear, which will have probably
there might be 100 points on the line for that show alone.
Exactly. So still a lot of time left.
Exactly.
Crown Jewel, another Saudi Arabia show. It's funny, sort of like listening to just like people to like, I know like a lot of comments sort of over at Wrestle Juice, and I know over here as well, people think, well, it's a Saudi Arabia show. Sort of has house show vibes sometimes, but title changes have happened plenty on the show. They become more sort of what we say canon.
Yeah.
And this was no different. I mean, we had a change in the women's tag titles. We had some phenomenal wrestling, including that match as well. Yep. And we had Bianca retaining once again against Bayley. So we're going to talk about how that might affect War Games. We had some more information about War Games. Evidently, it's going to be 5-on-5.
Yeah, that apparently there's a video package that ran during the show that said, it'd be 5-on-5 in 2 rings with the cage surrounding. So, we were thinking maybe the possibility would exist to do, Damage Control versus Bianca, Asuka, and Alexa, everything on the line. If it's 5v5, that doesn't really quite make as much sense because the winning team, how are they going to decide who gets what belts, As opposed to having your singles competitor and your tag team. That made all the sense. But that's one of the reasons I picked Bayley. I'm sure you did too. Pick Bayley tonight because, well, if it's not going to be winner take all at War Games, maybe it was at this show where Damage Control would actually, as they have said in their mission statement, take control of the division.
It's interesting getting more of a feel for how Triple H is booking things. I'm not entirely sure what the point of Asuka and Alexa Bliss winning those titles and then immediately coming in here and dropping them for the title change. I mean, you could maybe theorize. Well, number one, Triple H, as I've said this before, Triple H came up, his time was the Attitude Era. That was, I know he was undefeated basically in the Ruthless Aggression Era, but he came up in the Attitude Era when title changes would be fast and furious.
Yeah.
You gotta wonder, maybe the Saudi Arabian government said, hey, is there any chance we can get a title change on the show? And he was like, well, we can do this, it's not a big deal, it's sort of reestablishes the status quo. So I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna get more of an idea of what his philosophy is over the coming months and years, obviously. But let's talk about War Games.
Yeah, I was going to say, and also speaking to the point of how Triple H is handling the creative for this particular story. It seems like War Games will be the blow-off, probably.
Yeah, right.
And it's going to be interesting to see if there's no stipulation like winner take all, if it's 5-on-5. 5-on-5 is going to mean that each team, assuming it is Damage Control versus Bayley, Asuka, and Alexa, each team's going to need 2 more people.
Well, there was the wild card tonight, Nikki Cross.
Yes, there's Candice. She's been kind of brought into the story as well. There's
Candice. There's also Sasha and Naomi, who were added back into the intro graphic tonight. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of curious. I mean, look, it's funny because every time we say, oh, well, this match feels like a blow-off. They could easily, Bianca beat Bayley. She got the title off the ladder. Well, how are they going to justify another one? You know how Paul does it. He just has a big old beat down. He just has a big. It's like somebody just beat somebody up and says, "I'm not done with you yet." Basically.
Yeah.
So I mean, they can it's wrestling. You could justify it any way you want. But yeah, it does seem like 5 versus 5, winner take all, which we've seen in NXT's War Games before. That seems to be like it would be off the table.
Yeah.
Unless somehow they put like Team Cronus and Katana and
the
NXT tag champ, but I don't think that's gonna.
I would be surprised, but you never know. You never know. It's gonna be interesting to see how War Games shapes up in about 3 weeks' time. Let's talk about the main event. I feel like we could do a whole podcast on the main event alone.
Oh boy.
So Roman versus Logan Paul in a vacuum was a pretty fun bout.
Yeah, it was.
Logan Paul, in only his third match, has shown that he can comport himself inside the wrestling ring pretty darn well.
Yeah.
In terms of celebrities doing wrestling, he's probably top 3 at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He's super athletic, knows how to sell. He's willing to do insane spots. Or he does that spot, the announce table spot, especially the one tonight where he's holding the phone while doing the frog splash. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Hats off to Roman for being a professional and making his opponent here look like $1 million.
Yeah.
An absolute $1 million. Problem for me is it's not terribly believable. Roman has been champion for almost 800 days. This is Logan Paul's third match. Really, what should happen here is Roman should have beat him in a minute, save for some sort of outside interference. That would maybe distract Roman, allow Logan to get some of his stuff in. In the end, Roman should have won no more than 5 minutes. It's just, if Logan had won 8, 9, 10, 12 matches before this one, all right, I'll buy in. Maybe he has a chance, But on his third match, I just can't find it believable that not only was it competitive, there was large stretches of the match where Logan was firmly in control. If you want to tell the story of Logan trying to survive to just hit that one lucky shot, that makes more sense, where Roman's unloading on him, maybe taking him a bit lightly because it's a dude's third match, and not really putting the foot to the gas fully, thinking, oh, this is a walk in the park for me. Hubris. And then Logan just finding ways to eke himself out of situations to try to hit that one shot. That story is believable. That's not the story they told, though.
He was really over in Saudi Arabia, Logan Paul was. And I don't know why they wouldn't have told. Well, I do know why they didn't tell that story, because I would imagine Logan Paul he was probably thinking, I don't want to be seen as the underdog babyface. I did a bunch of celebrity matches.
But that was the story he was putting out there. He's like, everybody thinks I got no chance of winning. It only takes me one lucky shot to get the win.
Yeah, I don't think he understands that level of storytelling. I just don't. I mean, he seems like, I know I'm not going to say he's an idiot or anything. I mean, he's exploitative. That's for sure. That's how he built his career, by being exploitative. But that doesn't mean you're stupid. It might mean you don't quite understand how stories work when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's
especially if this is only his third match, he might not exactly understand the approach to wrestling storytelling.
Because it's like, I feel everything you're saying. I think that he should have come off. This should not have been like, this matchup of two equals. It shouldn't have been that, because it doesn't make any sense. But
nope.
I also understand from his point of view, maybe he's like, well, I won a bunch of celebrity matches. I beat a bunch of burnouts. I beat a bunch of people who were way over the hill. Like I beat them. So I should be able to come into wrestling and fight. I think that's stupid. I think it makes wrestling look so bad.
Yeah.
And this tonight, it just, I'd rather this have taken place, at like one of those glorified, house shows at Madison Square Garden or something where we don't have to watch it, because on TV it just makes Roman look bad.
I know.
For him to be at on the ropes so often against Logan Paul. That to me just screamed absolutely silly. And then you just sort of, you add into it, and it might have been palatable if it was like, I'm trying to think of another celebrity wrestler that I actually really like, Stephen Amell. I'm a big fan of that Heels show. He seems like a pleasant fella. And I don't know. I'm trying to put myself in that headspace. Maybe I would have believed it, or I would have been more willing to buy in, because I know that Logan Paul on the outside of wrestling is kind of a piece of shit. And so is his brother. You know, it's like the stuff that they've done. And I just know sort of the surface of it. I'm sure there's probably a lot more that I don't know that I'd be like, oh, yeah, he's a real piece of shit. But that also has a stink to it. You know, it's like they're celebrity boxers who take on people who were, you know, hot 15 years ago. And they think that that's a big deal.
Yeah.
They think that that's something that to be proud of. So no, I don't. It was really difficult to buy into it.
Yes.
His brother coming in and laying out the Usos was just stupid.
Yeah.
Like, you're the WWE. You're supposed to be a big deal.
I know.
Like, the Usos are going to be taken out by one dude who just beat Anderson Silva 15 years past his prime.
I know.
And after like 10 years after he had his leg wrapped around an opponent in the UFC.
Yeah.
It's just, it's kind of gross. You know, it's just kind of gross. And I get it's wrestling, but it's like, I'm not into it. I'm not into it.
Yeah. I mean, it's if you're building a fictional world, which is what WWE is trying to do. And I understand they take elements from real life to bring into this fictional world they're creating. There's got to be rules in that world that they have to follow. I mean, for me, that's like basic world building. You create a world, you set rules and whatnot for that world, and you follow those rules.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do stuff where a lot of people come in off the street and, you know, in excuse me, in a believable fashion, they won't comport themselves in the wrestling ring like a professional. And yes, I understand that Logan and Jake have done some boxing. From a skill set perspective, boxing is different than wrestling.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You know, and just because you're good at being a boxer doesn't mean, well, look at the UFC, especially in the early days. You know, there were people that were walking in with a very specific skill set. If they were matched up against somebody that knew how to counter that skill set, they had no chance.
Yeah.
No chance.
Yeah.
You know? And if the idea with Logan is, yes, he's a celebrity boxer. All right, he could hit a lucky punch and knock somebody out, even though he's never knocked anybody out in any of his matches, as far as I'm aware. All right, Roman, if he watches his tape, he trains well, he can counter that because it's wrestling. It's more than one skill necessary to be successful at wrestling. Yeah. And I don't feel like from telling an intriguing story, they completely missed the boat on it. Rather than it's just pretty much, Logan, go do all your stuff. Here's a showcase for you. Roman will sell for you. We'll have an overbooked finish. A little bit of a distraction. Roman hits Superman punch, spear to get the win. Yeah,
this is the bottom line. Mayor Planet Houston here in chat says WWE should present itself bigger than YouTubers. And that's what they're primarily known as. You know, it's like that's what they're known for. And so I don't know. It was just it was silly. And it took me out of the world, and I just wanted it to be done with, you know. I think, and the sad thing is, there was a way that they could have told this story in a different way that would have been like, okay, yeah. And you had nailed it earlier on. You said if Logan Paul had was doing everything he could to survive the dominance of this guy who's been champion for damn near 1,000 days. Like, if you can survive that and then hit that lucky shot, then maybe you'll have a chance. But he shouldn't be dominating entire stretches of that match. And I think that plays to the ego of a Logan Paul, who is like, oh, yeah, no, I'm coming into this fantasy land. I should be able to dominate. And I understand that it's professional wrestling and people can come in and, you know, it's like you look at Hook in AEW, you look at Goldberg in WCW, but it's like, I don't know. It's different when your thing is you're presented as YouTubers who also do these silly celebrity fights. It's just, it stinks. It's like, man, I'm in here for the universe that the WWE creates, and you're making your guys look like trash because Roman Reigns is having a hard time against a YouTuber, basically. It's just, it's kind of crap to me.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer. All right, friendos, let's take a quick break here. This episode of Going In Raw is brought to you by BetterHelp. I know I've spoken about it several times here on the show, but there was a time in my life where I was getting really overwhelmed by life's challenges and started dealing with severe anxiety. And because of that anxiety, I got to the point where I realized I needed to go to therapy.
Yeah, man. Therapists are trained to help you figure out the cause of challenging emotions and learn productive coping skills, which makes therapy the nearest thing to a guided tour of the complex engine called you.
That's true, Steve. And while it took me a while to find someone I felt comfortable talking to, once I did, I was able to learn the tools I needed to better cope with my anxiety. And as the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable.
Yeah, you just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. And if things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It couldn't be simpler.
No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/raw. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw. Otherwise, like from a wrestling perspective, the show was solid.
Sorry, hold on one second. Mayor Plane, I'll just one last thing. He says the NBA doesn't let Drake suit up for the Raptors just because he's kind of good in his backyard. It's like, look at what happens on the other side of the foot. When CM Punk, a fairly dominant wrestler in his own right, goes to the UFC, wrecked by bottom feeders.
Wrecked.
Yeah.
Wrecked. Wow. Exactly. Thank you. That's a good analogy. Both good analogies. But from a wrestling perspective, the show was solid.
Oh, otherwise, yeah.
Even the main event, for its faults, it was well performed. Mm-hmm. Apparently they had the story told. This is story you guys are telling. They went out and did the best of their ability.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I can't fault Logan for the performance aspect of what he does in the ring.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
you can tell he prepares. You can tell he works.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And his stuff, considering this is his third match, it looks really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From a storyline perspective, wasn't into it, but from a performance perspective, I can appreciate, all right, both guys went out there, worked hard, and gave a hell of a performance.
Yeah. You and I are story guys,
Yes,
and that's our thing, but I thought that there were two matches that were really matches of the night. And I don't know which one I liked more. One was more sort of like sports entertaining, and that was the Bianca Belair versus Bayley match. I thought it was so much fun. They brought out the golf cart. They made very clever use of all the set pieces there. And I thought
the finish was different and unique and really creative.
It was, absolutely. And I thought the other match that really stood out for like the wrestling aspect of things was Dakota Kai and Io Sky Damage Control versus Asuka and Alexa Bliss. There was a tease during that match with Alexa Bliss. I'm sorry, during I think the interview, the lights went down. I think that happened also during the match itself.
During the match, the lights from the crowd went down a bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah, so they're teasing something there with Alexa, possibly with Bray Wyatt. Maybe her just reverting to a character. I don't know. But regardless, these four have chemistry that is impeccable. Mm-hmm. It is amazing to see, and it's so much fun. And I can't wait for Asuka and Io Sky to have a solo feud, because it's going to be so much fun. But yeah, I thought those were real standouts. But otherwise, everything else was also just a lot of fun. They felt like pay-per-view matches. Omos and Braun Strowman, I hope they continue this for a while, because they both look like they're having a lot of fun in there, throwing each other around, doing crazy feats of strength. There was a lot to like there.
Yeah, there was. So apparently commentary was saying during the tag title match that Jey Uso might have a broken wrist.
Yeah.
He had it taped up, but it wasn't like a huge amount of tape. And that he was set for an MRI Monday. And I thought I saw on Twitter that there is a tag title bout scheduled for SmackDown. I'd imagine Usos and New Day.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I had anticipated the Usos continuing on their tag reign, breaking the New Day's record, and holding those titles till WrestleMania, probably, when Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens would beat them. But if Jey does have a broken wrist, it didn't seem to hamper him at all tonight. So I guess depends on the degree of the break, where it's at, so on and so forth. Yeah. But if it's a situation where, yes, wrist is broken, you have to take time off to heal up, we might have new tag champions sooner than we anticipated.
That is a possibility. I like this here from White Brownie in our chat. Says Sammy will fill in for Jey.
See, that would be cool.
I like that as a possibility as well.
Cool.
Yeah. I don't know. We've been talking up the Bloodline storyline for quite a while now, and it really is fascinating and really compelling stuff. And so, however this ends up playing out, I have faith that they're going to do it pretty well. And yeah, hopefully, whatever this injury is, if it's something that's serious,
mm-hmm.
won't derail that storyline.
Whatever plans they have.
Too much. Yeah. But anyways, let's go ahead and dive into it. It kicked off with Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. This felt like this was a very much like a Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns type thing that Vince liked to book back then, because it was very simplistic. Before the bell, Bobby Lashley rammed Brock Lesnar into the ring steps while Brock was doing his little pre-match victory lap. Bobby Lashley comes up behind him and he rams him into the ring steps. So Brock really starts selling his leg. Like he hit his knee or something like that. And so that allowed Bobby to take an early advantage and had the advantage for most of this match.
Yeah.
Pretty much all this match. I mean, I know that he, so he did that. The bell hits. He hits a spear. He had already hit a spear on the floor, put Brock in the ring, hits another spear. Brock rolls out. He gets a spear through the barricade, puts Brock back in the ring, hits another spear. Brock kicks out of that. Lashley's looking for the hurt lock, but Brock is able to block him. Lashley then is taken to Suplex City. Brock hits an F5. Lashley kicks out of that. Lashley's looking for another spear. So you see, just to pause here, you see where this is going. It's just all spears and hurt locks and F5s.
It's all finishers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so anyways, Bobby's able to get the hurt lock on. He's able to actually lock it on. Brock goes to a knee. The ref does the thing where he does the arm. He does it twice, and then the last one, Lesnar kind of hulks out a little bit. He pushes off the rope because he goes down. He pushes off the rope, and he sort of rolls back onto Lashley to get the pin win right there. And then afterwards, Lashley kind of pissed off that he had basically dominated this, but still took the loss. Put the hurt lock back on after the bell, and really made Brock look pretty weak here. I thought this was pretty cool for Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, at the end, after Lashley released the hurt lock, Brock was kind of against the ropes.
Oh man, he looked like he was in pain there. He was really selling
trying to
the crap
stretch out
out
his
of it.
neck. I joke that it's like me when I get up in the morning.
Yeah.
Some days that's not too far from the truth, but he was really selling the effects of the hurt lock, and
so this
real purple.
This achieves one definite thing and potentially another one. Bobby looked great in a loss. He really did.
And it motivates another match.
And potentially motivates another match. I don't know that it will, because Brock just sort of comes in and does stuff, but it's like there's not going to be like an ongoing story here. I mean, I just don't know.
I don't know. I mean, we got their Survivor Series coming up. That's one of the major four. They might really, along with the War Games stipulation matches, they might really try to build up Survivor Series again to feel like one of the major four shows, because sometimes it just doesn't. There's the Rumble coming up in a couple months. It's entirely possible that they come back around to this. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they have a rubber match and Lashley gets the win in that one.
It is very, very possible. After that, we had Dakota Kai and Io Sky versus Asuka and Alexa Bliss. I had mentioned before this is probably my match of the night. As good as Bianca Bayley was, this was probably my match of the night.
It was really good.
Every single one of the competitors here, I just love to watch them wrestle. They're great.
Yeah.
Beforehand, there was an Asuka and Alexa Bliss interview. Bliss said, "We've won titles before." The Bray logo showed up on the TV behind her during this too.
She's talking about something along the lines of this is payback for months of what Damage Control has done to us. And then Asuka says they're not ready for Asuka and Alexa. Let's go. And the match began, and it was great. It was awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of great stuff. Down to its finish, Alexa tags in. She goes up the top rope. So Io gets on the apron to distract Alexa for a moment. Eventually, she does go for Twisted Bliss. Dakota Kai gets her knees up. Asuka and Io are brawling on the floor. And they kind of make their way back in the ring. So Bliss hits a DDT, goes back up to the top rope. And Nikki Cross comes down, hits Bliss with a draping, swinging neck breaker off the top rope, while Asuka and Io are like in the ring, kind of like on the apron ring area, brawling. So the ref distracted by that. Eventually, the ref turns around. Dakota gets the cover on Bliss to get the win.
So we've just sort of talked about where to go from here, and it's sort of unclear. I don't know. They're gonna go. I know they're gonna be. Three of them are gonna be in War Games. The other three are gonna be in War Games with them. Again, like you mentioned, Nikki Cross getting involved here, but as they've been so fond of saying, she's an agent of chaos. If you are one of these teams, if you're the bad guys, if you're Damage Control, Do you try to solicit her services?
Well, I mean, on Raw, we saw that little bit backstage where Bayley was talking to Nikki Cross. And maybe it was just for this situation or something else. I don't know, but it seems like they're building a relationship between Damage Control and Nikki that'll lead to War Games. Maybe when or if Damage Control loses at War Games, then Bayley can turn to Nikki and say, this was your fault. Then they feud. And so the Bianca-Bayley feud comes to an end.
If you and I in ACW are trying to put together a team to beat, I don't know, somebody else.
Yeah.
Would you go for a wild card, though?
I mean, I wouldn't. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Sounds like a nightmare. Would Hilton, if he was putting together a team? I feel like Hilton would go for a wild card.
If he thinks like on net, it would give him the advantage. He might, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I could see Hilton doing that. It's a Hilton move.
Despite headaches, he thinks, okay, yeah, this wild card will help me win.
Yeah.
Then maybe.
Hilton's a bit of a wild card himself. After that, you see the Paul brothers arriving at the stadium in a nice, fancy SUV. Byron walks in for an interview. Byron, just some immaculate fuchsia.
That suit was amazing.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And complimented by like sort of a teal tie. Oh, it was great.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, Logan says, I feel great. Feel like I'm about to shock the world. At the end of the day, all it takes is one lucky punch. And my brother.
Not the story they told at all.
And yeah, I know. Exactly.
Then we got the cage match between Karrion Kross and Drew McIntyre. Fun bout. Down towards the finish here, Drew hits a spine buster, covers Kross. Kross kicks out, puts Drew right into the Kross jacket. Drew escapes that, puts a sleeper on. Kross breaks that with a Saito suplex. So he's looking for the forearm. Drew ducks, future shock, calls for the Claymore. Scarlett gets on the apron, right next to the cage, to distract Drew so Kross can lock on the Kross jacket. Drew breaks that up by driving Kross into the corner. Kross ends up hitting Drew with the forearm to the back of the head, and then he starts to climb to get out. Mm-hmm. Drew gets up, grabs his ankle, hits a superplex off the cage, which was crazy. And then Drew says to the ref, open the door.
Mm-hmm.
So he's crawling towards it. Scarlett gets out the mace, maces Drew, and gets the ref a bit with it too.
Yeah.
So she's telling Kross, come on, crawl out. So Kross starts crawling towards the door. Drew has to make a leap to grab Kross by the foot, puts him in an ankle lock, brings him back towards the center of the ring. Kross boots out of that. Eventually, Drew hits a Claymore. And as he turns towards the door, Scarlett locks it like a padlock. She's here. She's holding the key. Ha ha, I got it.
Yeah, you can't.
So he just kind of goes, she's like, all right, I'll climb out. So he starts climbing out.
Mm-hmm.
And so Scarlett's in a hurry to unlock the door so Kross could try to escape before Drew does. So Kross is crawling towards the door. Drew climbs over, drops to the floor. Right as Kross is about to get halfway out of the cage, Drew wins.
I feel like this could have been a bit more dramatic, the finish, because it was like when you got these two, this is a very dramatic story. Number one, can the gameskeeper please tell Drew McIntyre stop being so goddamn distracted by everything? This entire last run since he's had the title. What was he distracted by MVP? Touching his foot. Yeah. And now it's like Scarlett. Look, I know Scarlett. Nice to look at. Oh my God, what is that? Right? But so it's like I get it. But no matter how nice on the eyes somebody is, if this lady's been spraying me with fart spray over and over again, I don't want anything to do with her, man. I'm sorry.
I know. It's something that WWE has done consistently is that their baby faces tend to have tunnel vision.
Oh boy, yeah.
Once distracted, tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Oh. How many times has Seth heard somebody's music and he just turns direct, especially babyface Seth, and just stares at the stage?
Oh, just forever.
How many times did that happen? He's been attacked from behind, but still same response.
I guess
turn towards the stage and stare.
I mean, at this point, because Drew's done the crotch chop, you turn to Scarlett, do the crotch chop, you go back, unless he's I don't know, maybe he's like, oh, time to get bricked up. Here in Saudi Arabia. I don't know. I mean, it's it's a good-looking lady. Maybe he's just like, oh. But boy, oh boy. Yeah, he needs to get that shit. But yeah, going back to the finish here. it's a cage match, so it's like, oh, whoever can get out. But Scarlett doing the thing like, you can't get this, and then he starts climbing, and then she says to her, dude, you can get this. And she starts it's like, it's a bit cartoon, it's a bit Marx Brothers.
No, it is, and I guess back in the day, probably 30, 40 years ago, that kind of finish might have been really exciting.
Yeah. And
just today, yeah, you're right. It just I don't know. Escaping the cage doesn't really have the drama that maybe it once did.
I mean, you could do something like, and again, I'd probably be complaining about this too, but like Kross's finish is that awesome forearm to the back of the head, right? If Drew's trying to crawl out, he's bloody and stuff, and then Kross comes up behind him and nails him with that, and then he tumbles out.
Exactly, one smooth finish. That'd be great, yeah.
Or I don't know, like Drew McIntyre basically.
No, you do this. Kross is like, open the door, and he turns to look to make sure Drew's not coming, bang Claymore, and as Drew hits Claymore, he just flies out of the ring, through the ropes, lands on his feet on the floor.
I don't know, some silliness like that.
Imagine that. That'd have been spectacular.
I think there was a more dramatic way than just a mad dash to, quick, get the door open. And this is the end of it. Like Drew, somebody in our chat mentioned that Drew did an interview where he said, yeah, I'm pretty much done with that. I want to go after the gold now. Who knows if Kross feels the same way? He might say, one more time.
He's not going to take an L.
He's not going to take an L. Come on. But yeah, kind of a silly finish. But these guys, they do have really good chemistry, and this was good stuff here.
It was. After that, some SUVs pull up the stadium. It's Bloodline.
Oh, yeah.
Byron walks up for an interview, asks about Logan saying it only takes one punch from the interview earlier. Mm-hmm. Roman just kind of looks at Byron, walks away. Solo does the same, and then Paul Heyman mocks Logan, saying, "Oh, it only takes one punch. It only takes one punch."
Yeah.
Says Jake taught Logan how to throw one lucky punch. Shawn Michaels has been training Logan, but the greatest offensive player in WWE is also the greatest defensive player, which means Logan will never hit that one lucky punch.
Oh man, got to take a quick time out here. We got raided here on the Twitch by Colt Cabana. What's up,
Thank
Colt?
you, Colt.
Oh man, we were getting teary-eyed over your return on Dynamite the other night. Congratulations, man. It was awesome to see you.
It was awesome.
Phenomenal stuff right there. Thank you, Colt, for the raid. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Colt.
After that, we had the Judgment Day versus the OC. And, it's, dude, the OC, the OC, couldn't find an equalizer for Rhea Ripley. Was Rhea really that? Did she get that involved in this match, though?
Yeah.
She did?
Yeah, because AJ was going for the phenomenal forearm at the end, and she trips him up.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Drops him face first on the apron. And that leads right to Finn. Finn hitting the finishing sequence.
But there were no low blows.
No, she really
body
didn't do
slam any of the dudes.
Time. It was just AJ. Yeah, I was kind of thinking, especially after the Judgment Day stood tall on Raw, that the OC would be like, all right, for this show, this 6-man tag match, it is imperative that we go find our Rhea equalizer.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And for some reason, they just didn't do it.
Our equalizer.
You come out for your entrance, and down towards the finish of the match, I don't know, Raquel Rodriguez or somebody runs down, starts taking it to Rhea, so you get the win.
Yeah.
That would make all the sense in the world.
They were just busy doing other things.
Now, like Judgment Day, they've more or less dominated this feud so far. If OC were like, now we have Rhea equalized, we win another match, Judgment Day would be like, no.
Yeah, like why would we do that for you? We won everything.
Yeah, it doesn't make
our gal body slammed your biggest dude.
Yeah.
They kind of look like assholes.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason. Judgment Day win. They win this match. They win the feud. Move on. So yeah, AJ for the finish is set up for a phenomenal forearm. So Finn's distracting the ref. That allows Rhea to trip AJ off the apron, blasts him onto the apron face first, puts him back in the ring. Finn hits a shotgun drop kick, coup de grace to get the W.
Where would you like to see both these crews go next if they're not going to keep on feuding, which I think they probably are.
They are, because we're going to get a Finn AJ one-on-one bout. That hasn't happened.
That needs, by the way,
during this feud. It hasn't happened. So I imagine what's going to happen is Judgment Day will have a promo on Raw. OC will come out. Then they'll introduce their Rhea equalizer. Brawl breakout. Maybe they'll do, like a mixed 8-person tag match. Mm-hmm. I don't know what exactly. Or they'll start kind of splintering off into Finn and AJ will feud. Good Brothers will feud with Dom and Priest, and then Rhea and Rhea Equalizer will feud.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. That'd be cool. Judgment Day is a lot of fun. It's been really cool to see how far along they've come since Triple H has taken over and just allowed them to be just fun versions of themselves.
Yep.
But yeah, no, so it'll be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, anytime Finn and AJ are in there, it's a lot of fun to see.
Yep, and the crowd gets into it too. After that, we had Omos taking on Braun Strowman, and Omos was dominating Braun.
Yeah.
Dominating, throwing him around the ring. Braun would mount a small comeback.
He was trying to sell that Omos is like too big and heavy, but at one point, because at one point he tries to pick him up for a slam, and like he has to put him down. But the initial bit where he like picks him up, it was like, God, it's so easy for him.
Yeah, it was pretty easily.
he's such a strong dude.
One time, Braun clotheslines Omos to the floor, calls for the Strowman Express, goes and does it, and Omos just flattens. It's completely flattens him. So back in the ring, Omos is looking for a choke bomb. Braun powers out of that. Omos hits a knee to Braun's gut. Looks for like a quarter knee. Braun escapes that. Power slam win. It was like Braun's one move. He hit one move. They told the Logan Paul story in this match.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it was fun. Omos is always Omos. I just like seeing him because he always has a half smile on his face.
Yeah,
he always looks like he's having so much fun out there. He had a really cool new like headgear entrance attire.
Is great. Yeah,
I think that they've really dolled him up a little bit with the attire. I think he looks cool, man. And yeah, this is fun. I just want to see this keep on going. They need set pieces on Raw or SmackDown, wherever they tell us.
Destruction.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. After that, we have the Usos versus the Brawling Brutes. Of course, as we mentioned, commentary mentioned that Jey has a broken wrist of some sort. He's supposed to get an MRI soon, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, they said on Monday. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but honestly, watching this match, if I didn't know that,
wouldn't be able to tell.
Because this dude, like, he was using his arm, and even when he came out for the stuff afterwards during the Roman match,
he wasn't favoring it. He wasn't
didn't even have it taped up for the Roman stuff.
Not that much, no. No, not for the end. He had no tape, just some tape on his fingers.
Yeah.
Yep. To finish this, so Butch and Ridge, they're in control. They throw Jimmy into the barricade, so Butch tags in. Brutes hit their finish on Jey. Jimmy runs in to break that pin. And then Butch hits an enziguri on Jey, and when he does that, it sends them into Jimmy on the apron. Jimmy tags in. Butch doesn't notice, so Butch goes up top. Jey hits him with a kick up there, and then the Usos hit a Super 1D.
That was cool.
To get the win. That was great.
That was cool. Yeah, that was awesome.
That was great.
Rich had some good moments in this match, too. He was doing, I think he did, it was like a double suplex.
It was like the double, backdrop. Or
Yeah. So he looked pretty good here, and it's always great to see Butch. But yeah, that Super 1D, that was pretty awesome. I forget who was it. Yeah, Jey hit that, and meanwhile Jimmy's down there waiting. It was so,
there's that bit where the Usos were getting a bunch of stuff off there, and Ridge was just waiting.
Yeah, you see
for a spot to break up the pin.
Yeah, that always cracks me up, man. We see wrestlers down there selling, acting just very intently paying attention.
Because they're always like this, their elbows on the apron.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Some of them will go like this a little bit, but they're still just watching intently for their spot. Anyways, after that we had Bayley versus Bianca Belair, last woman standing. This was really, God, dude, I'm telling everybody who gets into a thing with Bayley ends up better. All her matches are so good.
When she faked that injury on the ramp, had me fooled.
I know, yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, everybody fooled. Yeah, so there was a bit where they go up the ramp and Bayley fakes, I think, a knee injury. And then the ref is sort of checking on her, and Bianca lets up her guard for a second. And Bayley just makes a beeline for her, just completely takes over. So that was good stuff. But yeah, there was chairs being thrown around. It's funny. My only thing about this is that the last time there was a last man standing match, it was Brock and Roman. And if you remember the finish of that, they were still piling stuff on top of Brock as the ref was counting. And so I'm always okay, how are they going to do it this time? Is it the action has to stop? And Danilo would take forever to start counting the 10 on most of these.
I know. There was a bit with a golf cart where when they're brawling up on the stage later on, Bayley drove out in a golf cart. Eventually, though, they're brawling on top of the golf cart. Bianca gets the better of it. She gets in the cart, drives it down the ramp with Bayley on top still.
That was awesome, yeah. And I thought, did you think in your head, were you are they going to try to do some cartoonish thing where she rams into the ring and then she'll go sliding into it?
Well, I was thinking because there was a table there between the ramp and the ring that she was going to slam on the brakes. Bayley was going to slide off and like do a flip in air to go through the table. But that's too much.
Yeah.
So what ends up
it's
happening?
not like Sammy Guevara, like Sammy and like Matt Hardy would have done that.
Yeah,
shit.
would try to do something like that, or Darby Allin would do something like that.
Yeah.
So Bianca stops the cart at the foot of the ramp. Bayley grabs Bianca's braid, and so Bianca just grabs Bayley and flings her off the cart didn't break the table that's there ringside. So eventually she power bombs Bayley through the table. Bianca puts a bunch of chairs in the ring. Eventually she looks for a 450 onto that where Bayley's on the chairs. Bayley moves, so Bianca just splashes out a pile of chairs.
That was an awesome spot. Because Bianca ate all those chairs on that 450 landing.
Yeah.
And at that, honestly, dude, at that point, I was like, oh man, this is where Bayley's gonna take it. Like, because that was such a big spot right there.
Yep.
But no.
And then so Bayley sets up a ladder in the ring, but it's set up so it's like an alligator mouth,
Yeah.
where the joint is facing towards
the middle
of
the ring,
and the opening is in the corner.
Yeah.
And so Bayley takes the chair to Bianca. Bayley's looking for a rose plant on the top of the backrest of the chair.
Right. Yeah.
So Bianca blocks that, hits the KOD onto the chair, and then she puts Bayley in between the ladder, closes it, and then slides it under the bottom turnbuckle.
Yeah.
So Bayley's trapped.
Yeah, she can't get out.
Between the ladder. I'm like, wow, that's really inventive and creative. I don't think I've ever seen something like that. And it makes all the sense.
It does, yeah. Yeah, it made a lot of sense. And yeah. It's such a small quibble because it's like, but when, for example, up on the ramp, Bayley had Bianca inside the equipment case. And she didn't really endeavor to like keep it closed down. And maybe there could have been like a feet of string because she did like a little bit. Like she had it close. She was like, okay, count. And I'm like, all she has to do is like sort of stand up out of it.
I know.
But if
Bayley came over like at like 5 or 6 and started banging on it.
She started, she started doing that. But no.
I don't know if Bianca could hear the ref count inside the road case.
Yeah, that could be, huh? Yeah,
that it's time to get out.
That could be, yeah. But no, it was a phenomenal match. It was really, really fun to watch. God, that 450 landing on the chairs was spectacular. They're going to be hurting tomorrow, I'll tell you what.
You got that right. After that, we had Bray Wyatt come to the ring, drop a promo. It says, "My name is Bray Wyatt, and there was a time when I would have done anything to make sure you knew who I was. Mm-hmm. I come from a very prestigious family, a wrestling family. Some might say they're larger than life, and from the time as I was a child, all I wanted to be was great. But great wasn't good enough. I wanted to be the greatest of them all. That's the point, though. I did what I thought I needed to do. I gave in so much that I made a monster of myself, and I wore that mask with pride. It didn't take me long to understand that while I was wearing that mask, I no longer felt pain. I no longer felt afraid. In that mask, I was untouchable. And that type of thing feels good. And some might say sensations like that are impossible to quit. And that's how I felt. I found myself in a kingdom of nothingness. The monster destroyed me and ran off everyone I loved. So I sat there alone. But that's the thing. No one loves me. People love the idea of me.
Because the crowd starts chanting, we love you, Bray. We love you, Bray. The crowd was super into this. And they did this really cool lighting thing where like half of him was lit blue and half of him was lit orange, like warm and cold. I thought that the lighting was really beautiful.
Yeah, it was really good. He says, people love the idea of me, the things I'm capable of. I don't even love me. But this doesn't have to be the ending of my story. That's not the man I want to be remembered as. My name is Bray Wyatt. My name is Bray Wyatt. And I am here to rewrite the ending of my story. So Uncle Howdy shows up on the Tron and asks, why you wear a mask? It must hurt forcing to be something you're not or someone you're not. You could fool them, but you can't fool me. Who knows you better than I do? Do you think they'll love you if they knew the truth? The truth is you're going to give in. And when you do, you're going to remember how good it feels. And if you're worried about the aftermath, just don't take the mask off. Tell me I'm wrong.
This is like the same conversation I have in my head the other night when I was coming back from our meeting. I was like, should I go to McDonald's? I don't even love me, man. And then my Uncle Howdy shows up and is like, go eat those burgers. Go eat that 2 cheeseburger meal, Steve. Yeah. And that's what this whole story is. It's not
Uncle Howdy went out there, huh?
Mm-hmm. Oh man, every time, bro. My Uncle Howdy is very powerful, Larson. And he seems to be here with Bray Wyatt as well. So no in-person Uncle Howdy, just sort of, they're inching their way towards whatever this is going to be, which I still don't know exactly what it's going to be. But Bray is trying to be a good guy. He's trying to be like, hey, I want to be somebody that I'm proud of, that I want people to remember me by, not the fiend who's going around burning people to death and all this stuff. And Uncle Howdy is just that guy who's like, nah, man.
Nope.
You suck.
It's Godfather 3 pretty much.
Yeah, right, exactly. I
keep
pulling me back in.
Uncle Howdy keeps pulling him back in.
Oh, man. Yes.
Well, I guess it was Uncle Howdy. We haven't talked about SmackDown yet. That Bray was channeling Uncle Howdy when he was given that poor production assistant all that crap about interrupting his promo, huh?
Uncle Howdy is the guy that shows up when somebody cuts you off in traffic. Then Uncle Howdy's like, go fuck him up. Go burn down his house. All that stuff. So yeah, that was good stuff. Crowd loved Bray Wyatt. There's two guys in the crowd, him and AJ Styles. The crowd was big into AJ Styles. And then we had our main event. We've talked about this quite a bit. We'll go through the beats here. Like you mentioned, Logan Paul had a lot of control. Everything was really good in terms of the wrestling for him, except for there was one thing, his new mentor, I guess the guy training him hardcore this time around, the Heartbreak Kid.
Oh, yeah.
He tuned up the band. He tried to go for a super kick, and it was kind of gnarly. But Roman caught that, hit a big Uranagi, got 2 with that.
Yeah. After that, Logan still got way too much stuff in.
He did, yeah. He sidestepped a Superman punch. He hit, I guess, his big lucky shot first to the kidney, and then he hit his own Superman punch on Roman. Roman was, God bless him, was selling the crap out of this. I mean, he was like, oh my God, my jaw. And then he rolls out of the ring. Paul clears off the announce table. He puts Roman on it. He goes to his entourage there at ringside, and he takes a camera phone, in the words of Michael Cole.
Yeah.
He got a camera phone. It was not a flip phone. So he gets that. He goes up top. And to his credit, he's doing the selfie stuff and he's taking the vloggy stuff the whole time.
Yeah.
He hits a frog splash while vlogging, puts Roman through the table. The Usos come to ringside to check on Roman. They toss Paul's guys over into the ringside area. They beat the crap out of them. They give him a couple of super kicks. Jake Paul then comes to the ring. He's there to make the big save. He's able to single-handedly take out the Usos with a couple of knockouts. Logan puts Roman back in the ring, hits a pretty decent-looking frog splash. Roman kicks out of that. Then Solo, the enforcer, comes to ringside. Jake meets him at the foot of the ramp. They don't really let them get into it because everybody needs to be protected, I guess. The refs and producers come out to keep them apart. Jimmy and Jay step up to Jake. Logan then takes them out with a dive over the top. He gets back in the ring and then immediately eats a Superman punch. And then Roman hits a spear to get the win to close out Crown Royal. And Roman was really looking like he had dodged a big bullet here with Logan Paul. He was, showing a lot of emotion to his titles.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah, there you go. Oh, Sloth King here in chat says he posted the video of the splash. I'll check that out.
Yeah.
It was probably
Sean
just very shaky.
Yeah, I'd imagine. The actual act of doing the splash was probably very shaky. Yes.
It probably was, yeah. So anyways, that's going to do it for our review of Crown Royal. Again, thanks to everybody for donating to the charity. We appreciate it
so much. Thank you.
We will be back on Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific for our review. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.